Hello everyone, in this video we will see how to use Jest to do unit testing. So Jest is a JavaScript unit testing tool which can be used in any JavaScript application. Either it is a React application, Angular, Vue, Node, anything, you can use Jest. Now if you are not familiar with the word unit test, in the simple language, unit test is a test which is created to test a particular feature or component. So the idea behind unit test is to divide your functionality in small functions, components, whatever you want to call it, and then test those functions or those components. So we will see an example how to use that with a React application. So let's create our React application first, and let's cd into our project. And now we need to install React testing library and Jest. So just paste this command into terminal and let's open our code. So first of all, let's create a simple component. So let's go to our source folder, create a folder called components, and let's create a counter component. So this is a pretty basic counter component here where we are using useState hook, and count is currently 0. With each button press, with each increment, the count will be pumped by 1 value. Easy peasy. So let's see how to create a unit test for this simple component. So in this case, the file name for our component is counter.tsx. So if we need to create a unit test for this component, we will just create a new file called counter.test.tsx. So this is a general convention we use where we just add .test after the end of the name of the component so that we can visually see that this test case is written for this component. All right, let's start adding our first test case. So in this simple test case, we have few things going on. So first of all, we have this describe method. Anytime you want to create a test, you should start with this describe method. In this, you can write your component's name. This is a string, so you can pass it anything here. And now you'll see there is this it method where we're passing some statement, renders initial count, and then we're passing our component. So let's see what's going on here. First of all, we will pass our counter component in this render method so that we can render our component, and then we will use this expect method. So what it will do is it will go to the screen, get that text count colon 0, and then to be in document would either be true or false. So let's make it 10. So let's just change this value to 10, and if I open my terminal and if I just run npm test, we will see that this test case failed. Well, the reason this test case failed is because the initial value of our count is 0, and what we're trying to set here is count 10. And don't worry about these brackets, they are just regular expression. So right now this test is trying to go into component, trying to render that component and trying to get this value, but right now it's not getting that value. See, if we see the error, it will say unable to find an element with text count 10. Now we know that our initial value is 0, so if I change it to 0, save the file, now our test case passed. So this is a pretty basic example, but really important if you're learning Jest for the first time, that you need to have a described method, and inside described method you can add your it method. Now you'll be asking why you need to write two different methods, describe and it. Well, the general way of doing unit testing in Jest is you will have similar kind of test cases inside one describe. So you can have multiple describe, multiple it method, but the way you will divide them is according to their so the way you will divide them is according to your need. So if you want to test similar features inside a component, you can put inside that it statement so that you don't need to write different describe methods. Okay, so let's add another test here. So now I added another it method here, which is inside the describe method. So now what we are saying is increment count when button is clicked. So we're rendering our counter component. So the first thing it's trying to get is this HTML element, which is increment button. And after that, we have some fire events. So generally you go to a web page and click buttons, but those buttons you are actually manually clicking. So in order to click them automatically behind the scene with the use of Jest, we will use these fire events. And inside fire events, we have different methods. In this case, we will just use click. So first of all, it's trying to find this increment button. So the name of our button is increment. So it will get this button, store in this variable, and then it will click on the button. Now, when we click on that button, we need to see some output, right? So we will get some output and we will match that with this statement. So what it says here is, so expect, it means it either be true or false, right? So when it clicks one time, we should see count 1 in the document. So to be in the document is another way of checking whether we have that element or that text in our component. Similarly, we can press that button again and get a 2 value. So if we run this test, so both of the tests are passed. So I think now you probably get some basic idea how to write unit test in Jest. And you're probably wondering why I'm saying it's using Jest when it's using this testing library React. Well, under the hood, testing library React is using Jest to do its testing. So all these methods, expect, fire event, it, describe, it's coming from Jest. Well, I think that's all from this short video. It was just to demonstrate how you can use unit testing in a JavaScript application.